So I'm pretty happy with how my hair looks right now. I especially like the little strands back here. And of course I could keep working on this and really refining it, but I kind of like that. So whenever you're happy with how your picture has come out, I'm going to zoom out. You can see my reference right here and I'm turning it off. And remember, only your artboard is being seen, so the black lines cut it all off. Okay, so what you want to do now is you want to create a background. So you can either use a gradient tool if you want to put a gradient back there. Like I said before, if you want to draw in a pattern, by all means you are welcome to. I'm going to turn off this hair layer and I'm going to go to the way bottom and I'm going to drag this to the bottom. I'm going to call this background. We want it to be on the bottom so that we don't have any sort of conflict with anything. Like, we don't want there to be any strange situation happening with the face or the hair. Now, if you did what I did and started everything with an opacity of 100 and built up, you shouldn't have any problem putting a background and causing any sort of weird colors to show up. However, if you have any kind of opacity, depending on what kind of background you use, might change how your colors look. So be mindful of that. So if I want to just make a square background, I'm going to show you a couple of them. I can use my rectangle tool and just click and drag that shape. Use my direct selection tool and go in there. And as you can see, I just made the background blue. I could also, usually it comes, Illustrator gives you these pattern options. So if you do want to put a pattern in there, you can. Oops. Oops. You can put a pattern in that way. You could also put in a gradient. It gives you these pre-created gradients if you want to use any of them. But you can also, if you click on this button, they have all these different types of options. You can check out the swatch library. So they have these different kind of color groups depending on like art history, celebration, color books, and we'll be talking about color books, especially these Pantone swatches, when we get into branding and creating brands and logos. But what's interesting is they have like gradients and stuff in here, so if you do want to do some sort of gradient or anything in here, they give you colors based on that. So you can feel free to click in here. Like it'll show you these different color combinations, so you can see. It's giving me all these different types of background. So if I want to just use a simple gradient, I might. And because she has so much happening with her hair, I might just pick a gradient for this. And I can make my own gradient. So if you go over here to your gradient tool, you can click on that, and you'll notice that you have these different options. If you click on them, you can pick around and change the colors around and really make it work for whatever kind of gradient you want. And you can change the percentage and degrees of everything. So if you want to change the opacity, you can do that. If you want to change the degree in which it's showing, so there's 90 degrees, which is straight across. There's 60 degrees, which is at an angle. And I like this green. I think it's going to work really well, especially because like all of her branding is with this like super bright green. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add in this bright green, I think. You can also kind of make that happen. And then I'm actually going to make this a dark green, I think. A pine green. And that like this. And I kind of like that it's the brightest right here. I think that looks really nice. So let's make sure it's right there. Cool. All right. So I'm kind of happy with how that looks. Honestly, I'm about that. However, I want to show you how you can put in different kind of icons if you want. So if I'm looking at Billie Eilish, I'm pretty sure she has that, if I type in her logo. Oh, I don't have the internet. That's super fantastic. Let's just connect to my internet and see if it will let me do that. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to save this image. And like I said, I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to try it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save it to my desktop. I'm going to go down to Illustrator. I'm going to save this just in case anything weird happens. Oh, is something weird happening? Oh, okay. That just nearly gave me a heart attack, but that's okay. We're going to go to File, Open, and I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm going to go grab that clip art that I just grabbed of her logo. Where is it? Did it not save? Did I not save it as a... No, it's a JPEG. Is it in there? Oh, it's right there. What? Okay, we'll try this again. We're going to go to File, Open. I'm going to go to Desktop. Okay. Oh, there it is. I'm just blind. Okay, so we have this, and you'll notice that this is a JPEG, similar to my picture of Billie Eilish, and I just want to have this image. So I could trace this if I wanted to with the pen tool or the pencil tool, but because this is a black and white image, I actually can do this thing called image trace, and because it's so sharp and kind of clip art-y, it should give me this logo. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So without wireframe, it's like that, it's just a square. But I'm going to go to image trace. And what that does is it tries to go and make your picture into a vector. So then I'm going to click expand. And when that happens, you can see now that it's seeing them as two shapes. I can drag the individual shapes. So I want to delete this white area. And now I have this little guy. So I'm going to copy it. I'm going to bring him over here. Make sure I'm still in my background layer. And I kind of want to paste him in here. I kind of don't know if I should put him in here. Maybe I'll make like a little pattern. So I'm going to change the opacity of him. Maybe make a couple of them. I don't know. You totally don't have to do this. I'm just now having fun with it a little bit. So I'm aligning it. I'm copying a couple at a time. It's going off the page, but I don't really care. And I'm clicking this, holding down Shift, and these align buttons pop up. So if I click this, it will just align them to make sure they're nice and straight. That's my copy. I don't know. I kind of like that. Maybe if we want it a little smaller. I think I'm going to just fade it a little bit more. Like really fade it. So he's like barely there. Yeah, like that. Okay, so that's my picture of Billie Eilish, and now I have her little logo in the background, just to really, tell the viewer that it's her. So I kind of like that. I like using the green in the background. And remember, I just used that from the clip art thing, but if I wanted to draw it, I could do that. If I wanted just the gradient background, that's totally fine too. I can close out of this little color palette thing. So we have our background layer, which has my little icons, and they have my skin layer, all the face details, and everything. So I am done. So I'm going to go ahead and save this one last time. You can never save it enough. And you'll notice it's in an Illustrator format. So if I want to be able to share this with you guys without having kind of any problems or anything, and I want normal people who maybe don't have Illustrator on their computers to be able to open this and see this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to Export As. If you save as, you'll notice that it doesn't give you an option of a JPEG on here. It only gives you Illustrator or vector programs, vector files. So there's an Illustrator, a PDF, which is good to know. There's an EPS, SVG, SVG compressed, and this Illustrator template. As I'm working, I'm saving mine as an Illustrator file, and that's totally fine. But if I want to export it, and let's say send it to, I don't know, one of you guys, and maybe you don't have Illustrator on your computer, or one of your parents and you don't have Illustrator on their computer, you have to go to Export. And you go to Export As right here, and you have to select JPEG. All right, so you want to go to Export As and then JPEG. And then there's this button. So before you move anything forward, you want to check the artboard because it's referring to this area on your workspace. If you don't check that, the whole thing is going to export. So I'm going to show you one with it using the artboard and then one without it so you can kind of see that. So I'm going to go ahead and click Export. It's going to pop up this way. Because I'm not printing this and I'm just going to be uploading it to a Padlet so you guys can see it, I'm going to be making sure RGB is picked because that's what the web sees best. If I was printing this at school, I would put CMYK. So I'm picking RGB and I'm making sure that the quality is at 10 and that the resolution is 300. You'll notice that if it's 72 dpi or ppi, that's for screen, so for web. Then there's this medium, which is 150, and that's good if you're sending it in emails or whatever. But for our purposes, we always want it to be at high resolution. Okay, so go ahead and click that. Everything else should look perfectly fine, and go ahead and click OK. All right, so we have that, and I want to show you what it looks like. So I'm going to go over to my computer graphics folder. All right, so it's right here. If we click on it, so you can see it gets all cut off, okay, which is perfect. That's what we want. And I'm going to show you what it would look like if I forgot to check that. Okay, so I'm going to go File, Export As, and I'm not going to check this, and I'm going to make this a -2 so I don't go over this file. So I'm going to go ahead and click Export. Same thing, RGB, 10, 300, okay. And I'm going to go over here. And this is what happens if you don't. Do you see how it kind of, like it's showing everything, including my like craziness that's happening right here, and how I didn't like finish the hair? So sometimes it comes out kind of cool like that. I mean, that is actually pretty cool. But you want to make sure that you slice it accordingly so it looks nice and clean and it looks like you really drew to all those edges. All right? So I'm really excited to see what you guys can come up with. And let me know if you have any questions. But it should be a relatively fun project, and you guys can kind of figure out some person you want to stare at, I guess, and go ahead and give it a shot. Okay.